Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel, Coding at Home. My name is Matthew Lonsdale and we are working on an inventory system for a survival game to use as a template, or in any game really you can use this as a template to build off of and move from project to project. Alright, so this is episode 3, we're going to continue on. If you haven't seen episode 1, episode 2, episode 1 will get me set up, episode 2 is when we start writing all the code and script. So let's get on with it. So let's get is there any code left in these widgets? I think we'll do that and get that out the way. So in the drag visual, that's just the update. Item info on event construct, yes. So we copied this for the item slot. The item slot, the inventory slot is different. There's a lot more involved in that one. So you could say this one is done. The hover over, yes, there's nothing else in there. That's done. The hood, shape my hood on here. Right, so there's an on drop on the hood, so let's do that. So if you come here, function, go over to override, on drop. So we want to cast to my drag, which we have not made obviously. So let's go content, blueprints, and we want a blueprint class actor drag my drag and drop. Okay, my drag and drop. Sorry, delete that. It actually needs to be a drag and drop object. So blueprint class, if you type here, my drag or drag and drop operation, hit select, and this you will call my drag and drop. There you go, hit save, and this will need a little bit of information. So the variables for this is going to be the item info, which is an item structure, like so. Editable as post on spawn, I think so, yes. Let's see what is going on my finished project. Yes, and the inventory components and everything's done. Right, so this is editable and exposed on spawn. You will need a item index or slot index, it doesn't matter. That's just an integer. You will need the inventory component. You will need another one of these as well for the storage when we get there. Inventory com. Okay, compile save. That is all you need to do. This is purely just to hold information. So that is now finished. Now on the hood, we can cast to my drag and drop operation. And then on drop, you want to remove item from slot and spawn on ground. So this is where we're going to start needing functions, inventory, from the component. So this is probably going to stop us. So let's go to the inventory component. I think we should just write all the functions in. Okay, so where are we up to? So we've generated, we're up to date. Right, so we need pick up item. Okay. So this is pick up item. Pick up item. So this needs an input of item structure, and it needs to be called just item info, and promote that to a local variable so you're not dragging wires everywhere. Just go L underscore item info, and then in here break it, and we are looking for does it stack. Okay, and then you can hide the unconnected pins, make that tidy like that. So if it doesn't stack, let's do that first. Well, actually, I've got loads of functions for everything. I've got functions within functions, so that is as far as we can go on that function without having to search for empty slot. So I'm just thinking, because just looking at it, right, well, let's do that in a minute. So if it's true, it does stack, you need to get the array slots, and we are doing a for each loop with break. Okay, so you want to promote this to a local variable, and this is L underscore slot index. So promote that to a variable, and you want to break the item structure. And the first thing I've got is the name equal to this name. So this is the coming in item. This is the item that's in that slot. Okay, that's how we know the difference. Break that and drag up name. If there's a, so if the, I'm asking, is there an item in the slot which is the same as the item I've just picked up? Okay, that's what that asks. So if there's no, if none of the items are the same, you'll just move forward and try and add the item. Okay. You haven't got to restack it or move stuff around. That's what that's asking. Do we need to do anything clever? Okay, if we do, we need to check that there's enough space in that slot. So is the stack already full? So what we're going to do is we're going to get the amount of the current item slot, and we're going to plus it to the amount of the item coming in. So if these two amounts, right, are less than or equals to the max stack, which information is held within that slot as well. Okay, I'm going to try and keep this as easy to read as possible. If this is true, so you found a slot with the same name and this is true, then you can say make a local variable L underscore, and I've named it can add amount to this slot. Okay, and set that to true, and then come out here, reroute, come out here, reroute, and come into here. No, didn't want to do that, did it? Let's do it in a 1, and then add the reroute nodes after. So we've got 1 here. Oops. like that, so it looks neat. Down one. Okay. So we have now got something to work off. So if this ended up being true, right, you want to add amount to item, update the slots, and then display an item being added. Okay, so let's add the next function, which is add amount to item. Okay, so in here we want the slot index. So let's just put the item info because that came up first. Ready forward. We need the slot index of the array, which is an integer, and we want amount to add. The reason I do it this way is for later on. You'll see why I've got, because I can drag the amount. I can just get the amount from here, but I need it separated for later. That's why it'll look a little bit silly, but it's fine. Okay. So in here we are going to get the array of slots, and we are going to get the slot index. So this is the current slot. I'm going to break the structure down. We want amount, and we are plussing, and then we can get rid of that, hide the rest of them. Okay, so we want to plus the current amount with the amount to add, and we want to set like this, set array element to this slot that's coming in. Connect this up, and this is the item structure. But what we want to do is we want to break it. We want to break it here and make it here, so we can change the amount. So connect up as normal, but the amount we are now pulling from this amount, and then continue down the row. Like so, and then after we have set the array element, we can return. Okay. Okay. Yes? Is everyone happy with that? Good. So now we can come back to our pickup item. Now if this is true, we want to add item amount, and the local slot is the local slot index. The local item info is the item info, and the amount to add comes from this item. So we will have to break this and drag the amount in and then hide that. There is a reason for doing it like that. You'll see later. My keyboard is wrong. That's better. And then we want to call update all the slots. And I've got the display item being added. That is not next in the list. What is next in the list is search for the empty slot. So let's add a function. Search for empty slot. So this is actually pretty straightforward, I think. Yeah. So it's just get these slots, do a for each loop with break, I think. Yeah. For each loop with a break, and you are very straightforward. Array element, break it, is empty true. If empty is true, in theory you could return true here, but it's not a good habit to do that. I don't know why I throw little curveballs in like that. So I'm rerouting here, like so. You will need a local variable, so let's promote that L underscore found empty slot, and you want to set that to true. If we're true here, that can go like that. Set it to true. Hide unconnected pins, and then on complete you can just go to a branch or if statement, and that is if this is true. You want to return, and you can just drag off of this to give you a boolean and just rename that success. Obviously you want to unconnect that and put one here and one here. You will need the slot ID, because obviously you need to know which one's which, so promote this to a local variable underscore local, so local underscore slot index, and just stick that in there somewhere. You can put it there, you can put it after the branch, it doesn't matter. And then this can be pumped into here like that, and then obviously you won't have anything for that. So that's that function done. That will find us an empty slot. So if we come back to pickup item, so now if it doesn't stack, you don't want to find any, you just want to know if there's an empty slot. So that can just be put straight in here. And I think we need to make some space in between these because there's a little bit of code here. So if that is true, you will want to add item to the empty slot. Okay, so let's do another function. Add item to empty slot. Okay, so pretty straightforward. This just you want the array of items. You want to set array element to this and this, and return. That's probably the easiest one. So that's finished. Right, so if you come back to pick up item, so if this was successful, you can add the item to an empty slot, and this would connect up, and the item info would be the local item info. And then I have got display item being added, which we haven't done yet, but we will get round to that at the end. Then you want to call the update all the slots. After you've done, when you've added something or changed something, update all of the slots. Okay, so we're now in here, compile. So if this fails, so let's see. If that fails, you want to check, are we using a limited number of slots? If we are using a limited number of slots, you pretty much just want to call this anyway. So you can copy this down to here. So if limited slots, sorry, yes, if limited slots is true and you can't add it to an item, you want to search for an empty slot and run that script and return as true. We have not got a successful on there, which you will want in the end. So we'll just put one in now, boolean of success. And that is true. You will want one here as well. Now, if we're not using a limited number of slots, you can just add. You don't have to check for an empty slot. Alright, so you just want to call the add item to empty slot, and the no, sorry, I have got add item to array, which we haven't made because you haven't got an index. It's the last index. So we will do that one. We'll come back and add that one in a second, because the next function is display item being added. So this is that little pop up in the top left hand corner. Okay, so let's do that function. This is I've got called this display item being added. I mean, it should be display an. Oh god, it's even worse. Sorry, I know. Sometimes my OCD can it. Right. Display an item being added. So this is pretty straightforward. You just want to create widget, and the widget you want to display is the show add item visual widget. The item info, just drag in, and then you want to get a reference to the HUD. So we do need a reference to the HUD after all. So to do that, you will need to go to your BP player. There's two ways to do this actually, but we'll do it the easy way. PC player, and on this initiate, this PC player has reference to the HUD. So you could set HUD here, which is probably the better way to do it, or you could be here, get player controller, cast to that, then get the HUD, then get the fucking add item box and do it that way. You want to not cast if you can help it. Casting's bad. Really, it's not good to cast, because it has to go through a lot of information. So if there's another way to do it the other way. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to make a variable underscore HUD like that, and we'll set that to widget HUD type object reference, and then we can get from this, get, what did we name, added item box, and then you can add child to vertical box. This can connect up here, and this would then be the content, and then you can return like so. And then what we want to do in the PC player, you want to pull off of your cast to inventory component and set the HUD, set widget HUD, there it is. So you can set this variable with this variable from here, okay? So that can come into there now, this can come into there, and this can come into there, and then you can reroute like so. Compile and save that, so that reference will come through. And now that this function's done, we can go back to pickup. So every time we add an item, we can drag on like that and put our local item info in. You'll also want to do it here. Item being added. Connect that up. Put in the item info. You'll want to do it here. Drag in. Plug in the local item info. Like so. Now then, if limited slots is filled, are we ready to do that function? No, we are removing item from slot. So we need to do all these now, so let's get them done. This is how to remove item from slot. Okay, so let's have a look at this function. Now, this might look a little bit strange, but I'll explain it in a second. So you want to get the array, you want to remove index, right? Now, this will make sense. Now I want you to add an index, okay? And what that's going to do, if you make it an empty slot, when you remove something, it will shuffle all the slots forward one. So it's going to take the empty slot, it's going to get rid of it and put it, and then add it to the back of the list. So everything will move up one. So you won't have gaps everywhere in the inventory. Unless you want it to do that, then the next function will be for you. Okay, or you would just set the array element to empty. So if you wanted to do it that way, just set the array element to empty. But this is how I thought it looked better anyway. So after you've done that, call the update all slots, and that is it. Return. Hit compile. Now, if you duplicate, so this is going to be remove item from slot and spawn on ground. So the reason we've got 2 is because if you move the item from your inventory to your storage, you'll not want to spawn it on the ground, but you will want to remove it out the inventory. If you're dragging it from your inventory onto the hood, wherever, to the side, above, you will want to spawn it on the ground. So you need 2 different functions to do 2 different tasks. But all we're going to do is we're going to come to the end of the function here, and there's a little bit of script to do, and I have taken the amount and the enum type before I've removed it. Right, so before you remove, you need to save some local variables, okay? So you need to get your slots. Now if you do a get node, get the index that you want, and then you want to break here as normal, off of here, break this, and then what you want to do is you want the amount. Okay, so promote the amount to a local variable. This is going to say amount, and you want the enum type. This is where this comes in now. Promote that to a local variable, and underscore enum type, just anything. Now you can hide unconnected pins, set this one, set this one, reconnect up. Okay, so you've got 2 local variables in there now. And at the end, basically you want a for loop. So you take the amount minus minus, gives you that, because of the way it works, obviously. And now you want to do a for loop, and this will be your last index, and make sure this goes on the complete, not the loop body. That will fuck your day, trust me. Right, and then for each loop body we want to spawn actor from class. The actor is going to be type pickup master. We will sort the spawn in a minute. Pickup master, and the enum pickup type is going to be our local enum type. Try to adjust, don't spawn. Right, so what I did here, because if they all spawn in the same place with the collision turn on, they just fucking explode and go everywhere. So what I've done is I split up the location pin just to give it some variance about different levels on the z-axis, so they didn't go fucking mushroom explosion. So what I have got here is I'm going to give myself a little bit of room, and I'm going to get the player controller. I mean, there's a definite better way to do this, but while we're in here, I'm just going to pull it like this, because we can then get the controlled pawn, and then from him we can get the actor location, right, and the forward vector, right. Now if you plus this vector with this vector timesing a range, okay, so this is distant in front, you could variable that up, or you could just hard code that to like 300, which is what I've done. Little bit more space here. Now you've got this number. If you split that, you can just drag the X in, drag the Y in, and then this one, you want to do random float in range, and then you can create a randomness from this, so you could go minus, just float minus float, and you can put minus 50, and you could do, and off of here again, do a plus 100, something like that. Okay, and then that is all you need to do. I've got an add Yep, on my one, I've put this add item down in here, which I do believe to be wrong. This is the function. All this is doing is spawning it on the ground. So that is correct. What I had was wrong, but that's fine. So, and let's do that next function, and this is going to be remove amount from slot. So this one is very straightforward as well. You're going to need a couple of inputs. You will need the item info. You will need the slot index, and you will need the amount to remove. This is integer, this is integer, and this is item structure. And are these all spelled right? Yes, you could probably do that. Okay, so you want the array of slots. You want to set array elements. You want to break and make. Okay. Connect up. Well, actually, what we'll do is we'll do the amount first, so you can see what's going on. So that's obviously the slot index, which just goes into there. So the amount to remove, you want to get the current amount first, right? Because obviously you want to do this the correct way around, and you want to minus the amount to remove and set that to the new amount. That's all we need to do in here, and then you just connect up. Like this, and enum type, and return. That is done. Compile, save, and we've now got split stack, add an existing item, swap stack, add item to array. Right, so we've got a couple which I think we will come back to. So let's get the add item. I think we are all good there. Apart from that one at the end, aren't we? Which is add item to array. Can I write the split stack without any problems? Yes. Yes, we can. Right, so let's do them as well. I thought I might needed other functions and stuff. So if you go split stack, so let's see, split stack, you require the item info, drag that in, and you require the slot index, which is just an integer, and you don't need to return with anything. Yeah, well, you'd be fine. So promote the local variable again, L underscore item info, like so. And now if you go for a I think I'm checking to see if it's more than one. Right, so if you break the item structure, or from here, break the item structure, get the amount, is that more than 1? Okay. If that is more than 1, then it can be split. Because if it's 1 or less, then you can't split that. So connect up. If this is false, you want to return, and you would want a success there, won't you? Or it would just do nothing. But if you want, you could put that in success, and that will be a boolean, and that will be false. If this is true, so you've got more than one, you now need to ask, right, is there an empty slot I can split it to? So that's easy. You would just drag in search for empty slot. Okay. Did that find one? If it has not found an empty slot, you want to check, okay, are we using limited slots? If we are not using limited slots, you just want to add item to the array, which we have not got. So let's add a function, add item to array, and we will just come back to here and just drag that in for now. So if we're not using limited slots, you will add the item to the array. If we are using limited slots and it cannot find one, you want to print a string and just say not enough space. Not enough space, and return is a failed, and this can return as a true. So let's do this add item to array quickly, which is dead easy. You just want to add like that and return. That is literally all that is. And new item, you can now put that in here. Compile and save. Just check the time on the video, 40 minutes. Okay, so now if you have found an empty slot, what we need to do is you need to add item to that slot, and you need to take amount away from your other item. So the first one is add item to empty slot. Okay, so, and this is the index, and the item you will need to break here, because what you will need to do is change the amount. So if we make a little bit of space up here, same with this one, reroute here and then bring that right up, gives you space, item structure like that, tidy. So just get the local item info, break the struct. The amount you want to do is this amount divided by 2, and this is the amount you will be putting in. And that will just, because it's an integer, it won't go to a 0.5. It'll just keep one at 2 and the other one at 3. Okay, if you are splitting a 5, for example. It kind of truncates it, so it won't go to a decimal place. A float will, but that's why we've chose integer for the amounts, because they're whole numbers. Okay, now you've added that amount, what you need to do is remove, you don't want to remove item from a slot, you want to remove an amount from a slot. So this is the info, the slot index is this slot index. So what we'll do, we'll promote it to a local variable, slot index, because we don't want this running all the way all over the graph, because it's too messy. And we will take it back over to here. So this is the local slot, and the amount to remove is this amount, pretty much, isn't it? So you could just drag that off into there. Okay, I know it doesn't look the best, but well, what can you do sometimes? Okay, so after that we call update all slots, and you can return successful here if you want, and that is that unit function, sorry, finished. So well, let's add to existing item. That is crazy function. What about swap? Let's do swap, because that's nice and quick. So add another function. This is going to be to swap item index. Okay, so for this one you're going to need the item structure, and you're going to want the dragged item info. The reason I've named these like this is so I know which one's which easily. And you will need the integer for the dragged item index. Then you will need the current item info, which is a item structure, and you will need the current slot index as well, like so. So you've got this one 1 and 2, and you've got this one 1 and 2. The actual function's pretty straightforward though. So you'll basically get array of slots. You want to set array element like this. Now you are setting this, the dragged info, to the current slot index. So you're basically swapping the indexes, and then you will set the current item info to the dragged index. Okay, and then you will update all slots and just return. That's never going to fail. You compile, and now our last function is the add to existing item. Add to existing item. That is definitely spelled wrong. Right, well, I don't care because I can't spell it anyway. So, what do we have here? This is probably the biggest, and it is the last. So, tell you what we're going to do. We're going to delete that function, and we are going to duplicate this function because it's done for us. And this is going to be add to something like that, is it? Nearly. Better ever. Right, so let's get rid of this for now. I just didn't want to type them again. Okay, so this is the item coming in. So promote that to a local variable. Local underscore dragged in. Promote to local variable L underscore dragged in index. There's them two, and now you need the promote to local variable. This is local underscore current info. Just try to make them look different so I don't make a mistake. And then you want to promote this one to current index. Okay, so the dragged in you want to break and promote the amount. So this is the dragged in amount, because you need to set this before you do any changes. And then hide that, make it tidy. Okay. And what we want to do is get the current info, break this, and you want to add this amount to this amount, and then you want to promote this to a variable, and this is the local underscore total amount. Okay, it'll all make sense in a minute. Now you want to minus the total amount of the max stack. Okay, this is going to give you the, promote this to a local variable, this is going to give you the local underscore remaining amount to add. Okay, so you can promote that to a variable. Well, what you can do is if this amount and this amount is less than or equals to if that is true, you can just add amount to item, and click here, hit Q, and the amount, the add amount to item will be because they'll be the same item. You want to, I have got the current item, so the current item info, and the current slot, current index, and the amount to add is the coming in or the dragged in, break it, get amount, and then hide the unconnected pins. And then what you want to do is remove amount from slot. Bring this route node with you. Okay, so you're now going to get the dragged in. Oh no, sorry. You just want to remove item from slot. And this is the dragged in index. And you'll just get rid of that slot altogether, and then it'll take it out and put it on the end. And then call update. And then hit your return node. Okay, so back to this one. So if this was false and you need to move, if there isn't enough space, you will need to add amount to item, so you will want the current slot index, the current item info, and the amount to add, okay, is right. So I have got the total, don't want to make a mistake here, minus the remaining, let me just make sure, because I think this did take me a while to get right. So it's the total minus the remaining, minus the current item amount. Okay, so the current, break that, drop it down, item amount, hide that, and plug in. And then what are we removing? So then we remove amount at slot, remove amount at slot. So the reason this function is a little bit tricky there is for example, if you have a stack of 20 apples and a stack of 10 apples, what you want to do is drag the 10 apples on top of the 20 apples, and the 20 apples turn into 25 apples, reach the max stack, and then leave the remaining 5 apples in the slot. That's what this is doing, okay? So remove amount from the slot is going to be the coming in, or the dragged in item info, and the dragged in index. You want to amount to remove is the coming in amount the dragged in amount minus the remaining amount to add. Okay, and then update all slots and return. Okay, save. So that is now all our functions done for the player. So if we wanted to drop something on the hood, you can just pull off your inventory and go remove item and spawn on ground. And the index you want to remove, you'll get index from here. Get item index. And you would just return true. Okay, so I think that's quite a long video. Yes, coming up to 55 minutes, so we'll close it there, and then in the next episode we will do all the drag and drop and probably finish it. I think we should. We've got the little box to build. That doesn't have to look like a pretty thing, you know, but is the storage. Maybe 2 more episodes we should have this nailed. Alright, so I'll see you in the next one. Don't forget, if you like the video, subscribe, flick the bell so you don't miss any of my new videos, and I will see you in the next one. Ta.